All right, hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for being patient with us. We are getting into our last match of the week. It is Serial Enters versus Team X Tempo, and I personally am very excited to see these teams play. We do love watching our Overclock division play. Obviously, a little bit better teams on this side of the bracket. Serial Enters definitely pretty strong comp together. Team X Tempo showing us quite a bit of strength the last time they played. So let's get right into picks and bans here. We've got Shen, Volibear, and Aurelia to start off the bans for Serial Enters. Team X Tempo electing to ban Lee Sin, Darius, and Echo. So not really a whole lot of focus in a particular lane from the side of Team X Tempo, but Serial Enters definitely focusing that top lane with 3 bans, and right out the gate, they're picking their own top lane in the Scion, a very high priority pick with the number of bans that have been placed in this particular role. So let's see what Team X Tempo elects to answer back with. Top lane, not usually a prio pick, and definitely very interesting, because top lane in the current meta is more of an island, right? It's not really used a whole lot, or it's not as nearly important as the ADC role. But Serial Enters have identified Team X Tempo's top lane as someone they want to target, and they are trying to take away as many picks as they can in this first draft. So Kled will be the answer for the top laner of Team X Tempo. We'll see what their second pick is. It looks like it's going to be the Smolder. Now, Smolder, that is definitely a priority pick. Very strong. We have seen it a lot in this tournament so far, and this is what I really expected Serial Enters to kind of come out with. But they have chosen not to. So, let's see what they respond back with for their last 2 picks on this first round. What kind of ADC do they want to respond with? Both Kled and Sion very good engages. So a lot of engage for both team comps here. Smolder, of course, loves to follow up with engage. Mom having a really long range, one of the longest in the game for an ultimate, or I guess longest area. Range is kind of how far he can cast it. So we'll call it longest area of effect. Hui, though, also a reasonably large area effect and a decent range. So an interesting pickup for the side of Serial Enters, taking away that Nami, a very good pairing with the Smolder, and a very smart takeaway from the side of Serial Enters. We will see what Team X Tempo elects to respond to that with. Now, Hui, not likely to be put in the bottom lane, but we have seen AP carries before, and non-traditional ones, so let's not count it out just yet. Hui could be a flex pick, and speaking of flex picks, it is the Karma. Now, likely in the bot lane with that Smolder on support, but very good in the mid lane. Hasn't really had a whole lot of success in mid this particular season, but the option is there. And now, speaking of options, Team X Tempo has options for their second round of bans. Let's see what they elect to start it off with. It is going to be the Jarvan lock-in, so focusing some of this jungle pool, which they've done a little bit before. Echo, a potential jungler. Darius also kind of a potential jungler, but not really seen nearly as much. Lee Sin definitely only seen in jungle right now, although can be played support or top lane if you really want to, though I would not recommend it. On the opposite side, though, Serial Enters has banned the Fizz, so starting to focus out that mid lane, which indicates to me that Hui is likely going mid. Fizz, a very good matchup into Hui, as he can dodge most of what Hui wants to do, especially his crowd control ability on his E, or all of his crowd control abilities on his E. Although, it is a little bit more difficult because Playful Trickster has such a long cooldown at early levels. Team X Tempo electing to continue jungle focus with the Graves ban, and that will be their final ban for this red side. So, technically speaking, 5 junglers banned out, although top lane and mid lane also getting some potential bans there as well. Okay, Master Yi banned out for the side of Serial Enters. Definitely strong jungler if you let him get ahead, but it's pretty easy not to let him get ahead. So I'm not entirely sure why they decided to ban this, but you know what? We'll go with it. And now Team X Tempo are going to pick their first pick for this first round. Or for the second round, excuse me, of picks. And a Kayn coming out for TXT. Not something we see very often, but definitely very interesting. And with this particular team comp, I almost wonder if they elect to go for the blue Kayn. That could definitely be an interesting pick, and we'll keep an eye on what he elects to go. A lot of ranged options for him to collect those blue stacks, but also a decent number of melee options with the Xin Zhao coming out from Serial Enters. And we'll see where that Hui is going to end up. Like I said, likely in the mid lane, but still could potentially be bottom, so they would need to pick a ADC here if that is the path they choose. And I personally would like to see Hui in the middle lane, in the mid lane. I would rather see an ADC pick come out here for the side of Serial Enters. Nami obviously having a lot of options, but Victor. So it is going to be that Hui bottom lane. And it could be Victor bot. Not entirely sure. This draft is a little awkward to me, and I think Serial Enters have kind of diffed themselves with Xin Zhao being the only AD option. And not that he isn't a strong one, but Xin likes to go more bruiser, which means he has more tank stats, which means less raw AD on the side of Serial Enters. Veigar going to be the answer back for Team X Tempo, and this scaling comp looks a little bit scary. All right, and welcome back to game number 1 of Serial Enters versus Team X Tempo. We are getting the Hui and the Veigar moving out together, but other than that, mostly stock standard. It seems like both of these teams really want some very interesting moves early. And I apologize for the bug. It looks like there is an issue on my end. Neither team is using streamer mode. This is an issue with my particular league client, so don't worry. Neither of the teams are cheating. I apologize for that. We will make sure that we have it fixed for the next game. But starting off very standard for both of these teams. It is going to be that Victor in the mid lane, Hui in the bottom lane. And Victor into Veigar is an interesting matchup because Victor scales a little bit early, but nowhere near as hard as the Veigar. Sion into Kled, of course, will be a very interesting matchup. Sion really just wanting to collect as much farm as he can, kind of stand close. He is getting the better of some of these traits onto the Kled, but of course Kled, a very slippery champion, is able to remount once he gets dropped off of Skarner. Or not Skarner, excuse me. I cannot remember the name. Skarl, thank you. Skarl is his name. On the bottom side, though, some trading back and forth as Kayn has now made his way up to the top side very, very early. Sion going to need to be a little bit careful here. And it looks like Kayn may be going for red side. Let's take a look at the runes really quickly and see if we can get an idea of what people are looking for. We do see here at the bottom of your screen Sion and Kled both electing to take relatively stock standard runes here. It is going to be the Grasp for both top laners. Now, Kled can elect to take that Conqueror, but into this tank matchup has chosen to take the Resolve Tree, which I think makes sense. For both junglers, Conqueror on both of them, which of course makes sense. Conqueror could definitely indicate more of a blue Kayn, but I'll be interested to see where we end up as we get some trading in the bot lane. Kayn is down here is going to step through the wall, and now Nami could be in a little bit of trouble. Princess Jessie needing to blow the flash early to make sure that she does not go down to that Kayn gank. And Kayn has been on both sides of the map incredibly quickly, has dropped 2 of his camps in order to make these ganks happen. For mid lane though, Deathfire touch. Oh, Kayn back here for a flash onto the Nami, who does not have it in response, and Smolder picking up the first blood. That is going to be a little bit rough for the side of Team X Tempo, as I think our overlay is also slightly off here. Going back to those runes though, Victor and Veigar both having pretty standard runes. Bot lane also having some pretty standard runes. And this Kayn is going to be, or is trying to make himself a very big part of this game. Has now ganked on both sides of the map, gotten a lot, but Xin Zhao looking to make his mark as well. Veigar having just enough mana for that cage means the Breathe will not be able to get anything else. Back on this top lane though, relatively even as Kayn is on this side of the map, and I will be interested to see how things end up. Karma using the binding onto Princess Jessie means that Smolder will be able to collect that kill. And for the side of Team X Tempo, they're going to be very happy with how this game has started off. As we get a little bit of action here, Kled now level 6 over the Scion, will use that ultimate to try and protect his jungler as he invades on the enemy blue side. Will be able to collect those wolves, or at least one of them, and we'll get out safely. This Kayn though, Lilto creating a lot of pressure for his team, and this is something that we really like to see from some of these higher elo junglers. A lot of early pressure, knowing when you can and cannot do something. As speaking of can and cannot be able to do something, a lot of trading back and forth, but the bot lane for Serial Enters really taking the worst end of this trade, as now Xin Zhao hovering around the bottom side here, trying to make sure that if Lilto does show up, he is here in response. And in fact, he will. Smolder getting jumped on by Breathe here. Will go very, very low. Xin Zhao forced to use the flash, and Smolder using it in response does get the Q onto Breathe, and that is going to be very, very rough for the Xin Zhao early. He's not been able to make the same moves. And Serial Enters having a very rough early game, as Princess Jessie just showing up here to make sure that Lucid is safe. Wei now using the ultimate onto the Karma to try and protect himself from this dive. Karma able to tank up the turret for a little bit, but not nearly as much as, say, a Leona or a Nautilus. Definitely makes a little more sense, as trading back and forth between Trey and Tran. And a lot of action in this early game. Kayn all over the map has been dropping camps to make sure that his teammates are fed, especially some of these scaling teammates like the Smolder. We get a little bit of action up here on the top. Breathe does elect to use the Xin Zhao ultimate to prevent the Karma from being able to do any more damage, but here comes Tran jumping in on that Kled. Xin Zhao now really low, but Lucid picking up the kill early. It's a trade of junglers right now, and Lucid does have to flash away on that Victor. A good bubble coming out from the Nami means that Veigar will not be able to chase down, but it will be a 1-for-1, a trade of junglers here around this top lane Grubs objective. Neither team really electing to go for this early Ocean Drake, prioritizing those Grubs instead. But pretty even for both of these teams. As now Kane will return to that top side, will start up the Grubs, and will attempt to finish all three. No one here to contest, even though Serial Enters does have the information. They are not looking to fight this again. And I think that's a really good decision, honestly. Veigar definitely scales differently than Victor, but will benefit more from those early fights, and just trying not to, as Tran taking a lot of damage here from the Scion. Will remount shortly, and does manage to get it with that final Q, but a bit close, and probably doesn't like it to be that close. Some trading back and forth here in the mid lane between Lucid and Deathwish as this matchup goes. Both sides in the mid lane really need to get off a lot of extra poke before they can go for the all-in in this particular matchup. A bit Melancholy, though, showing a decent amount of skill on this way, has managed to keep himself relatively even in CS, is down a little bit, or about 20 farm, which is rough, but into the smolder, and with the number of ganks that Lil Toe has put on the bottom lane, makes a lot of sense. I'm really curious to see how this double AP comp works out for the side of Team X Tempo. Or, excuse me, for the side of Serial Enters. That Kane is going to be pretty scary with the amount of pressure that he has put on early. As Tran here, mostly just trying to make sure that Scion wastes as much of his mana pool as possible. Is pretty low at this point. And if Kled gets the remount, that could be very, very dangerous. Team X Tempo, though, going for that Drake. They are now in full control of all the neutral objectives on the map, having grabbed 3 Grubs and the first Drake. And now Lil Toe looking for some action on the bottom side. Does not manage to find it, as Hui and Nami are able to back up in time. But once again, just creating that pressure. Doing as much as he can. Is now Veigar in some trouble. Does have to flash away from the Xin Zhao. Trying to do his best to get the return kill onto the Victor. But unfortunately, a 2v1. Just not able to make it happen. As this Victor is going to be the focal point for the Serial Enters team. Lucid 2-0 on this champion. Does have at least one upgrade, if not 2, very shortly. And this Victor is going to be very scary for the side of Team X Tempo. Oh. Veigar not nearly as far ahead as they would like. Mom coming out, but Lil Toe once again invading on this top side. Victor here to back up his jungler, but both top laners walking down now as well. Kane very, very weak at this point. We'll see which top laner makes the most difference, as Tran also very low. It's a 3v2 as now Victor or Vigar comes over, but just not able to protect his top laner. The Kled will fall. Lilto, barely escaping with his life, has elected to go for that red cane, and I think that makes sense. Having two bruiser frontliners that can kind of stand in front of the rest of your team will do a lot of work for them, so we'll have to see how this works out. Xin Zhao finding the Vigar, who has wandered down to this bottom lane in an attempt to help out the Smolder, but a trade? Vigar going down on this top side. Trey also falling to a jungle gank. But the Vigar is not who you want to lose. The Scion you're fine with. His scaling will come. No matter what, the Vigar needs to be as accelerated as possible. And I'm really curious to know what Deathwish's build path is here. We don't typically see the Seraph's completed first item. Normally, I would expect it to show after the Roa, because you really want those Roa stacks scaling. Tran, though, making the most of the kill on the top side, does manage to take down the first turret, and Team X Tempo, living up to their name, pushing the tempo of this game further and further ahead, getting the early gold for all of those objectives. Did collect both the first blood and the first turret now. But next Drake coming up in a minute and a half. We'll see which team is in position early, as Lucid and Breathe working together on this top side to take the Rift Herald, knowing that Kayn is on the bottom side, or at least they should know. They have not communicated this to their bot laners now, as both Jesse and Melancholy are in a bit of trouble, do have to flash away, and the Nami wave comes out. A very good bubble and a good ultimate by Melancholy slays the Kayn, all that CC, making it very difficult. And now Breathe is here to return the favor onto Tran, not able to catch him before he runs away. Will attempt to take that top lane turret, though, putting down the Rift Herald. It isn't going to crack the turret, but it will do a lot of damage. And definitely very interested to see why they chose to do it there. With this Drake coming up in about 15 seconds. Ooh, Scion not going to be able to get the recall off into the Kled. Means he is going to be very, very late for this team fight. Kled electing to use the charge. Will do quite a bit of damage to Trey, who does not have any mana anymore. Will manage to pick up the kill on this top side, meaning Team X Tempo are going to have a little bit of priority on this Drake, not having their top lane tank. But of course, Lucid, being a very strong jungler, Kayn does manage to pick up the Drake, though, and now the team fight will break out. Victor having to flash away. Lucid running for his life. Not going to be able to make it, though. The rest of this fight looking very awkward for the side of Serial Enters. Way, though, getting the ultimate off onto the Kayn. His mom comes out onto 2, almost 3. And now Lilto is in a bit of a tough position, stuck between a rock and a wall. Will forfeit his life. Scion trying to get a return kill. Meanwhile, Princess Jessie has to use the wave to get away from Hot and Gay. And now Kled on the run will manage to take that Hexgate. And oh man, if you are Trey, that is going to be so disappointing. Bot lane for the side of Serial Inters has elected to remain in their posts. Or excuse me, Serial Inters has swapped their bot lane with their mid lane. Team X Tempo has swapped their bottom lane. Ooh, Vigar getting the cage off just at the right time. Does get an extra stack onto that way. Ooh, good flash away from the bubble means that Deathwish escapes with his life. But now Lilto is here to contest. Besides, he is just going to take a ward. Get some vision for his team. But Tran might be in some trouble here. There are multiple members from the side of Serial Inters. Does have to use that flash. Is going to be hit by the Hui QW. But now he has backup. They do walk in to the Scion Q, but Skarl comes back. Karma very, very low from the Hui ultimate. Hui finalizing that kill. And now Tran is all by himself into 3 members of Serial Inters, and they do manage to take him down. Trey wanting some more, does ult onto this Vigar, and Melancholy there to finish it off. 4 members strong in this mid lane. That turret should not last very long. Hot and Gay trying to get as much farm as he can on this bottom side, potentially trying to finish this turret off as Serial Inters pushing their advantage, head to the tier 2 mid lane turret. Not going to complete it, but are going to do a decent amount of damage. And this game has been relatively even so far. The largest gold lead that we have seen at this point, somewhere around 1.6k, almost 2k, a little over 2k it looks like. But with some of those plays that Serial Inters made, having the numbers advantage on the top side, do manage to pull that back just a little bit and make this game a little bit more competitive for their side.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
Definitely a lot of very interesting itemization coming out from the mid lane here. Victor electing to go for an item that we don't see very often. Blackfire Torch, relatively common, but on the opposite side, Vigar opting to go for the Shadow Flame second item. He's giving himself options here. He does have the needlessly large rod, so he could go either Shadow Flame or Storm Surge. Shadow Flame more likely, but not as much scaling on this Vigar. Not nearly as much mana either. So that Archangel isn't going to create as big of a shield for his side. But looks like we're about to get another team fight here as Drake is just now spawning both teams, all 5 members on this bottom side, and bush stacking for the side of Serial Inters. But a little bit of pinch action coming out from Team X Tempo. Mob comes out, hits absolutely nobody as charge is used onto the Scion. Not what you want to see. This team fight looking very messy, but Victor going to be the first person to go down. Kane taking a lot of damage from those nightmares. Scion all by himself here is holding off multiple members of Serial Inters, but Vigar managed to get a really good cage, and Scion is going to go down. He is trying to do some damage onto the Smolder, but a 2-for-0 for the side of TXT means that they will be able to take this Drake. Scion creating a lot of space for his team, just not able to create enough for them to finish off some of those kills. And that is going to be sole point for the side of TXT. Serial Inters really need to formulate a plan for how they're going to prevent this Dragon Soul. And 5 minutes is not a lot of time in this game. Gold lead swinging back in the favor of TXT with multiple kills. But a lot of standing gold still remaining for the side of Serial Inters. If they can collect it, it can bring this game back to a bit more even state. And things will calm down here a little bit. Victor is going to look to split push as much as he can. Not a lot of safety. No turrets anywhere close by. Should that Kled elect to charge onto him, could be a very scary situation. And elects not to push out any further. Both teams, though, starting to posture around this Baron. Princess Jessie taking a lot of damage. Smolder at that 225 and a good binding from General Twee. Means he will go down. Kane now here on to Lucid. Does enter into the Zinzao. Ooh, the Hui missing the ultimate there. Kane taking a lot of damage here. Does pop. And is shut down, but in response, Smolder is here doing a lot of damage to those stacks. That 225 is just so rough. A 4 for 1 for the side of TXT means they're going to do a lot of damage to these remaining turrets. Tran, though, in a bit of trouble here. Should have the remount very soon, but a 2v1 does get the remount off, though. Has a lot more safety. Meanwhile, though, TXT pushing in all 3 lanes do manage to crack the top lane inhibitor turret. And that is going to be rough for Serial Inters. They are going to need to protect this top lane with their life. If it goes down, really anytime at this point, they're going to have a very difficult time fighting for this Drake. TXT, though, electing to play around this top side. Do have Tran pushing in the bottom side and are looking for a team fight angle for this Baron. All 3 of these members here, the Vygar, the Kane, and the Smolder, at very strong item points. Really want to fight, really want to get a pick, and really want this Baron. Lucid, though, the only real hope for the side of TXT. Hui, of course, will do a lot of damage, but it is damage over time. And time is not something that Serial Inters have into TXT right now. Not nearly as much burst as you might like to see. Still a lot of posturing, though. Kled going to do his best to create as much pressure as he can on this bottom side, keeping the Scion here locked in with him. As Princess Jessie sees how low this Kled is, does get the remount, but did try to rotate over to secure the kill with a little bit more CC. They might have been able to get it. But Tran does do a lot of damage, and Serial Inters know that TXT is on this Baron. They are going to start it up. Serial Inters trying to make a play on the bottom side. Not successful, though. Kled will just charge right out of there. And a little bit of frustration coming out from Serial Inters, but now they have to focus on this Drake. 14 seconds remaining before it spawns. They are here first, though. As TP comes out from Tran and Hot and Gay. But Serial Inters Oh no! Vigar finds the victor and just absolutely deletes him. A 2-0 in the mid lane now. Kled and Smolder pushing in that inhibitor, and the rest of the team just trying to make sure that Serial Inters cannot rejoin this fight. Smolder calling down Mom onto the Scion. Of course, Scion very tanky. Tran does go down, but there's still a lot of fighting here. Xin Zhao not able to make it back. Princess Jessie does walk back to the base. But that means Breathe is left by himself and breathes no more. Both top and mid inhibitor gone now, and the Nexus is completely exposed. So much damage from this Smolder, and so much damage from this Vigar as well. That is not good. And that will be the game. A very commanding victory. Alright, we're right back into it for the side of Team X Tempo. They have elected, our Serial Inters have elected to head over to the blue side here. We are going to run through these bans really quickly because they have not really changed. The only thing that we see that's different is the Lee Sin has now been swapped out for a Yuumi ban, and Bessa going to be the prio pick for the side of Team X Tempo. And I don't mind this nearly as much, I'm going to say, just because Mbessa is a very good and very strong flex pick. Can be played top or jungle. Very good in both lanes. Ashe going to be the response for the side of Serial Inters, and does it get paired indeed with the Seraphine? A strong bot lane coming out from the side of Serial Inters. This bot lane is incredibly toxic to play into. We'll see how Team X Tempo do respond, and this draft is already looking a lot better for the side of Serial Inters, picking up an incredibly strong bot lane for themselves at the right time. Not splitting it up between pick phases. Lulu, though, going to be the response, and definitely a very good one at that. We'll see what kind of hypercarry they want to pair it with. I would like to see something like a Yunara come out from the side of Team X Tempo. We'll see very shortly, though. Not a lot of ADC focus coming out in these bans from either team. And it is going to be the Xayah. Okay, interesting. I like that pick, actually. Xayah Lulu, not something you see very often, but definitely can be incredibly strong. The knock-up going to be really good. The only potential issue is that if Lulu does attempt to ult the Xayah while she is in her own ultimate, it could be a little bit frustrating. But Udi are going to be the pickup for the side of Serial Inters. They are expecting this Mbessa in the jungle. And they will start out their second round of bans with a Mel ban. So focusing on that mid lane once again, we'll see what they opt to pick up themselves. That being said, Lulu has another very good target to press R on. The Mbessa wanting to dive into the backline. If Lulu can reach her and she presses R, that is an incredibly annoying R to be able to play into. As Xerath going to be the ban, Fizz in response, A-Soul. These bans are coming out thick and fast. A lot of mid lane focus for both of these teams. Team X Tempo really focusing more on range and scaling, trying to make sure that Serial Inters cannot use this Ashe Seraphine and throw something over the top. Viego, though, an interesting pickup. And we do know that Lucid plays some Viego in the jungle. We'll see if he elects to bring it mid or if it's an Udyr top. But a little bit of flex coming out a little bit late in the draft from Serial Inters means they have some options. And now Master Yi coming out for TXT. I really am not sure whether this is a good pick. Lulu makes it very obnoxious for sure. And it will signify that Mbessa is going to the top lane. We'll see what the final pick is here in mid. And for some of you, this may cause a little bit of PTSD, especially from a few seasons ago where Master Yi and some kind of support mid laner were the meta. But it is going to be a brand, so none of that here anymore. Brand, the final pickup for the side of Team TXT, and I actually kind of like the team comp that they built here. It's a little bit disjointed and definitely has a bit of an odd identity, but it does do a lot of damage. And without a lot of tanks on the side of Serial Inters, especially with that Vex pickup, it is going to be a little bit rough if Master Yi just runs into the middle of all of them. Alright, welcome back for game number 2 of Serial Inters versus Team XTempo. Will Serial Inters be able to respond? We're going to find out very shortly. Pretty stock standard setup from both of these teams. Not a whole lot of interesting stuff going on. Little Toe out here trying to get an early ward onto the Viego though, as Trey is here to make sure that that does not happen. Deathwish going to trade back a little bit, just making sure that his jungler does not get chased down. But no ward onto Breathe means that he is going to be very happy to start out without a whole lot of information. Of course, they did see him there, so they do have some idea of which side he's likely starting on. But not really going to know exactly where he's pathing. On the bottom side, though, a relatively interesting start. For both of these teams, Lucid going to be able to do some damage onto this top lane here. So we are experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties. Just give us one moment. A lot of action happening though on the bottom side. Hot and Gay fighting back against a bit Melancholy. Both very, very low. Both using barrier. But unfortunately, Hot and Gay going to be the sacrifice. General Twee though, flashing onto Princess Jessie, who does not have a lot of mana on the Seraphine left, does have to use the flash in response. This bot lane already incredibly bloodied from both of these teams. On the top side though, Mbessa into Udyr is a very interesting matchup and not one that I've seen before. So I'll have to see how exactly this one plays out. And it does look like Tran up here getting aggressive onto the Udyr, trying to bait him in as Lilto is up here to help out his top laner. Trey, of course, playing the Udyr does have a lot of tankiness, a little bit of CC. Tran is going to take a single turret shot. And that play isn't going to work out exactly the way that they wanted it to. Both bot laners down here, though, back to push things in. General Twee keeping Hot and Gay very healthy, as Lucid not nearly as healthy, but both of these mid laners taking a lot of damage in these trades, both wanting to get aggressive, trying to get the poke off onto their lane opponents. Brand, very well known for his poke. Vex very easily able to poke out as well with that passive fear, as now Trey is attempting to run down Tran up here in this top side. That ultimate going to create a lot of space, and Mbessa not really going to be able to do a whole lot about it. Diego up here to make things even more interesting, but not quite able to get anything off on that top side. As we see the bot lane of Serial Enters getting pushed in, which is not necessarily something that you really expect in this lane matchup, but of course the Lulu shielding is going to mitigate some of the damage that Seraphine wants to do. A little bit of fighting, though, going on here. Lil Toe attempting to take the blue buff, but does get pushed out of the jungle. The flash coming out for the side of Lil Toe. The brand ultimate does come out, though, and a lot of trading back and forth. Bit Melancholy very, very low at this point. And this Ashe Seraphine lane is not working out the way that they expected it to. As now everything sort of returns to normal for both of these teams. Apologies for the little bit slow casting. There may be a technical issue that we need to work out, and I need to pass the message along. For now, though, we are going to focus on the game. Breathe here, back on the normal jungle path, is rotating towards that bot lane. Really needs to help out this Ashe Seraphine, because they are not having the better end of these particular fights. Zeri and Lulu, very, very strong. Speaking of which, General Twee is now up here to put pressure onto Lucid. The stun coming out from Death Wish, the fear in response, but the flash ultimate means that Lucid is going to go down. And we are going to throw it over to a quick break. There is a technical issue that needs to be resolved. Please stand by. We do apologize for this issue. We will be right back. All right, apologies everyone for that brief technical issue. There was an issue with the draft that has now been resolved. And we are right back into the game. A little bit of action coming out here on this red side from Breathe, as Death Wish trying to protect his junglers' camps, but not able to. Breathe is up there on, or excuse me, Lil Toe is up there on the top side, taking away those grubs. Does manage to successfully get all three. Now looking for an invade on this top side. Not really able to find any camps, though, and Viego is going to be able to take quite a bit from this Master Yi. Definitely going to be a little bit frustrating for the side of Lil Toe, and a very good move from Breathe, as he knows that jungler is on the top side and his camps are down. Lil Toe, though, going to be able to collect his wolves and isn't going to be too upset about it. Does now discover that most of his bottom side has been taken. Still has those Krugs to collect, though. This is going to mean that Breathe is here looking for a potential play onto this Brand. The ultimate from the Ashe coming through, but just missing. Lucid also missing the ultimate. As now Princess Jessie in a bit of trouble here. Lil Toe going hard on the Seraphine. Trey doing the same thing onto Tran, does manage to pick up the kill onto that Mbessa, and that is going to be incredibly rough. This Mbessa sat a little bit behind early game, means not going to be able to do nearly as much. Lucid, though, in a very vulnerable state here in this mid lane on a very low health Vex. Into the Brand with all of that poke is going to be very obnoxious, as we now see a little bit of a play from Lil Toe here on the bottom side. Breathe is here in the area. Lucid barely able to get away from Death Wish. And now it's going to be a 2v2, but Lucid able to get the Q off onto the Brand, and now with that being taken away, ooh, Breathe barely able to make it out with just a little bit of HP. His laner did not have any mana left. Lil Toe almost able to collect, but not quite onto both of those low health champions. A little bit of a rotation from the Ashe and the Seraphine, as well as the bot lane of TXT, but not really anything more going to happen, and everything will sort of return to normal. I will say, though, Hot and Gay and General Tweet playing this bot lane very, very well are able to get quite a bit of an advantage, up almost a K or over a K collectively on their opposing laners. And that is going to be rough. That's really not what you want to see. Deathwish, though, not what he wants to see. Breathe is lurking here as Lucid causing a bit of trouble for Lil Toe. Has his jungler there to back him up. Serial enters are going to be able to collect this next Drake. Don't have any prio in the bot lane, but Lucid is sniffing around, looking for an ultimate angle. And TXT's bot lane should know that he's there. Lil Toe, seeing the Drake go down, though, will attempt to invade his enemy laner's side. They will know about it, though, and Lucid is teleporting back. This could be a very bad spot for the Yi. Going to be pinched by two different people. He is trying to take the red buff now, as Hot and Gay going very crazy onto Melancholy. The ultimate coming out from the Seraphine, but General Tweet ulting himself to get the knock up. Lil Toe, though, going to be jumped on by three people, and that invade may not have been worth for him. Loses his life on this Yi. And a Fed Viego is definitely not something that you want to see. But then again, a Fed Zeri for the side of Hot and Gay, also not really what you want to see. Especially if you pick such a strong bot lane and just are not able to make anything happen. Trey, though, going to start running down this Mbessa and doesn't really do a whole lot of damage, but the mental damage is insane. A 2-level difference for this top lane. The Udyr really putting the pressure onto Tran on this Mbessa. Lil Toe, though, right back to farming in his own jungle. Will not look to invade for the time being. And I would like to see some action coming out from the side of Breathe on this bottom side, trying to rebalance this lane a little bit. No Ashe ultimate, no Seraphine ultimate available for a little bit, but could still make something happen down here. No ultimates on the opposite side either. Unfortunately, though, they will have a ward in that try that will spot out Deathwish, though, rotating down to try and protect his bot laners, but General Tweed going to have to flash away from this Viego. A very late flash, but does manage to escape with his life. Deathwish potentially hovering. Lucid, though, electing to stay in this mid lane and try to punish as much as he can. A lot of farm lost. Or Deathwish on that rotation. Not really getting anything out of it in return. Lil Toe, though, trying to make something happen in return on this bottom side. But that ward in the Pixel Brush will spot him out. Lucid now up here on the top side to make things even more miserable for Tran. The public execution will not come out. And that will be one dead Noxian on this top side. Some good poke onto General Twee, but the charm comes out from Princess Jessie. Rooted up. Both ultimates coming out for both bot laners. Ooh, just barely. Hot and Gay living with a sliver of health. It will not be a trade of ADCs, and man, is this rough. Melancholy and Princess Jessie must not have practiced this bot lane. Trying to go in for that final kill. Lilto, though, on the top side will die to Trey's Udyr. Top side, honestly, these matchups have flipped kind of on their head. We expected bot lane to be very strong, to be where the action happened, but bot lane has really not gone well for the side of Serial Enters. And top lane has not gone well for the side of TXT. And Mbessa will have that first item, but still down 2 levels. Almost a 2k gold lead individually for this Serial Enters top lane. On the bottom side, though, that Zeri is about 3k gold ahead of the Ashe. Now, Ashe is more of a utility laner. Does not necessarily need nearly as much gold to make things happen, but it definitely helps, especially if you are into a team of multiple people who can just run you down. This Ashe is not going to be able to survive for very long. The way that her build currently is, and the amount of gold that she currently has. Hot and Gay doing a very good job of playing the Zeri. And now both teams starting to posture around this first Mountain Drake. Ooh, the ultimate coming out from Lucid World just barely hisses by Lilto's head. That was a very awkward statement to say, and I'm going to try not to say it again. But now Serial Enters looking for something in this mid lane. The ultimate not available on the Vex, but the flash definitely is. Princess Jessie trying to scout out where the spot lane is coming from. Is going to back up now. Lilto going aggressive onto Princess Jessie, trying to make sure that the Seraphine cannot join the fight. And it is now a 3v4 as the Dragon is half health, and Serial Enters is just going to have to give this one up. Breathe is looking for the option, but just not going to be able to find it. Because Lilto still had that ultimate available and activated. Is now going to walk towards this top side, trying to collect the scuttle in the top river. And that's going to be upsetting. For the side of Serial Enters, they would have been up by a dragon had they managed to collect. But unfortunately, just not able to do so. Lucid and Deathwish, though, both still battling it out in this mid lane. Very even, but Breathe here to turn the tides, as is Princess Jessie. The ultimate flashed into by Deathwish. Oh, that is going to be very frustrating. As the Rift Herald is summoned in this mid lane, Lucid and Breathe trying to crack this mid lane turret, and not a whole lot that Lilto can do about it. And that's one of those montage clips that you really want for Melancholy. Such a great Ashe arrow. Preventing the flash. Speaking of flashes, public execution coming out from Tran as he flashes away from this 3-man dive. Coming out from the side of Serial Enters, and they will manage to successfully get it. But Lilto is here to try and make something happen. I don't think he really wants to run into 3 people, though, even if 2 of them are about half health. On this bottom side, though, Hot and Gay needs to be a little bit careful into this matchup, as General Twee is now on the top side, clearing out vision. No Lulu to support the Zeri. And a lot of damage going to come out on this bottom lane turret. Hot and Gay, though, very good at clearing up this turret. And Princess Jessie does manage to stun up using the Ashe passive. Going aggressive, though, with this ultimate has to use the cleanse and the flash, but Death Wish now here to try and make something happen. General Twee also here. Death Wish, though, just going to be able to stun up the Ashe. No flash available. Did flash aggressively onto Hotengate to try and get that kill, knowing that they were in a difficult position. But being down so much gold means that not a lot of damage coming out from the Ashe right now. Trying to get aggressive, trying to make something happen, and just not able to connect. This is not montage worthy, unfortunately. This bot lane play is very rough. Deathwish, not realizing that he's on a ward, now on multiple wards, is going to be able to walk out. Lucid and Princess Jessie not electing to go aggressive, as Lulu is there, does have ultimate. And Brand also having ultimate would make that a very, very difficult fight. 20 minutes and a dead even game between these two teams. This is what you like to see from this level of play. Neither team really getting the advantage. Of course, TXT up in objectives right now, but not really showing on the gold graph, meaning that Serial Enters has managed to even it up. And now Lucid is in a bit of a tough position. Polymorphed up. Does have the passive though, and Princess Jessie is here to help out. Unfortunately, Deathwish, a little more damage. Does manage to get off the ultimate, and that means that that is a dead Vex. A little bit frustrating for the side of Serial Enters, as the mid lane matchup starts to swing in the favor of Deathwish. And if you are Vex, that is not really what you want to see. You really want to be able to get onto these laners. Lilto now running down a bit. Melancholy tries to use the ultimate, not able to successfully do so. That Ashe are very short CC time if it is done right in your face. And for a comp with enough backup, like Serial Enters have built, that CC is usually enough, but the Ashe being alone means that that just going to delay death by a mere second. Drake now spawning the second Mountain Drake of this game. TXT trying to put themselves onto Soul Point, do have the advantage of the ADC, a little bit stronger ADC as well. And Bessa moving down here has to use the teleport. Trey's already here for this fight. Public Execution coming out onto the Vex though means this is a very sticky team fight from the beginning. Breathe going down very quickly as well. Trey soon to follow, was getting pretty strong on that Udyr, but not strong enough. A 3-for-0 plus the Drake for the side of TXT, and that is going to be very frustrating from Serial Enters. Melancholy trying to poke out Little Toe here a little bit, trying to make sure that they can't take this Baron like they seem to be able to want to. But 5 versus 2, and your weakest members means that this is going to be a very difficult Drake for the side of CI to stop. Deathwish doing a very good job of zoning the rest of Serial Enters bot lane away. This Baron is very low. It is going to be confirmed very shortly. It will indeed. No smite needed. Nobody there to contest. Oh, the ultimate though coming out from Melancholy. Shut down from the Vex. Hotengate trying to get aggressive, but does trade his life away. Trey TPing down, forcing the flash out of General Twee. Will respond with a flash of his own. Viego there as well. And a lot of gold collected back for the side of Serial Enters. This is not what you wanted if you are Team X Tempo. You just got the Baron. You really just want to get out. But unfortunately, Serial Enters team respawning just in time to make this play happen. They're trying to force down this mid lane turret. Going to try to do so on this next wave. But Tran does still have the Baron. Is going to try to protect it. Not able to successfully do so. Lilto back here on the map though, so If Serial enters overstay their welcome, this could be really rough. If Tran manages to catch somebody important, but oh, Little Toe going to run into Trey, get stunned up, has to run away. Lucid looking for him with the ulti, not able to connect. And what could have been a very serious gold lead from that Baron, now down to only about 1,000 gold. Very rough for the side of Team X Tempo. Only 2 members remaining wearing purple. And a lot of standing gold still remaining for the side of TXT. They could accelerate their gold lead if they managed to take down some of these turrets that they had just not paid attention to. Been too focused on other neutral objectives to make anything happen. Lilto invading Breathe here. Does have Tran on the side. Do they know about this? Oh, they do. Princess Jessie getting a good ultimate off onto 3 members. Tran now stunned up, but the Mikhail's coming out from General Twee means that his laner is going to get out. Deathwish now in a little bit of trouble. Lucid still not able to make a whole lot happen. Princess Jessie very low. The brand ultimate coming out means that Hotengay is able to set up for the rest of this fight. Definitely more what you wanted to see from this Baron push. The mid lane turret coming down. Both of them now out of the picture. And those grubs mean that they are able to look for this inhibitor turret. Will they be able to crack the base? Tran definitely had a bit of a rough matchup into the Udyr, but the Udyr really not able to make a whole lot happen. And it kind of goes to show you that top lane is an island. The diff just does not matter if your bot lane is behind. And TXT now able to command a 4K gold lead at 26 minutes into the game. Did collect some of that standing gold. The bot lane tier 1. All mid lane turrets taken for their team. Only that top lane, tier 1, remaining as the standout. Going to be really rough for the side of Serial Enters. You need to find a couple of good picks utilizing this Vex, the strength of the Udyr and the Viego. Catching someone out with a Crystal Arrow would be ideal at this moment in time. But very back and forth between both of these teams. If we're looking at the gold graph, Serial Enters has managed to bring it back to an even state multiple times in this game. But TXT always seem to have some kind of response, as this Drake is coming up very shortly. This would be Mountain Soul, and very good for both of these teams. They really want to be able to get this off. Lil Toe stepping a little bit too close to Lucid. Does get feared away, but does not elect to use the ultimate. The TP coming out from Tran means this will be a full 5-on-5 fight. TXT in a little bit of a better position though, and they will start up this Drake. Trey looking for the pinch. The ultimate coming out onto the Vex. Once again, you cannot allow this to happen. Vex is a very important member of your team. Breathe in here. Does manage to steal the Drake though. Seraphine ulti onto one. Lil Toe going aggressive. Hotengay finding the wraparound onto the rest of their members, and they will punish. Angry about that steal. A quadra kill coming out for Lil Toe. The smite just better from Breathe, but unfortunately the team fight just better from the rest of TXT. They are going to march it down in the bot lane, trying to get as much gold as possible. They will crack the middle inhibitor, looking for a potential end, but death timers are not that long. I'm not quite sure that they can make it. They are going to try though. Brand TPing up here. Princess Jessie, the only one alive at the moment. Breathe shortly, and Melancholy coming up. Lil Toe, very low. Hotengay, though, not low at all. Does a lot of damage. Princess Jessie having to flash away. Does not have that ultimate. Lil Toe going godlike as he kills the Viego off. This inhibitor, or this Nexus, is very, very low. TXT managing to close it out. Almost an overstay. A bit risky, but unfortunately for the side of Serial Enters, a rough game for them and a rough series. To be completely honest with you, that bot lane really not going the way that they wanted it to, and it just means that TXT able to close out this match in style.